Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Celtics winners over the Thunder, 126-122. We hit on that in our last video. But commentary from Jaylen Brown postgame from his role as Vice President of the Players Association, addressing the Kyrie Irving suspension, which remains in place as the Nets play their West Coast trip, losing to the Lakers last night. They've played well without Irving. So far, number one defense in the league in his absence, winning some games, getting back to that 500-ish mark. Kevin Durant leading them, and pretty good collection of role players starting to get healthy and find their footing there. But they want to bring him back at some point. They're not ready yet. Joe Tsai with comments that disturb Jaylen Brown that he talked about here today, saying that Irving has more work to do. They obviously put 6 points for Irving to return to the court beyond the 5-game suspension, and that's what the Players Association is taking issue with right now. Jaylen saying that Nike has work to do, not happy with Nike disassociating with Irving, as well as saying that Tsai has work to do as well as many corporations out there. That's basically where he left his comments tonight. Josue, at this point, does Irving deserve to be back on an NBA floor?
Does he deserve to be on an NBA floor? I mean, I think he deserves it. I think a player in his right, depending, if you base it on what he did, if you're talking about disciplining him for everything that happened that led to the suspension, I don't think it fits. I don't think it's, he should be banned out of the NBA. So I think Jaylen, obviously, because of the position that he's in, he's going to defend Kyrie, and he's going to look at his best interest. But I also think he sort of has a point. I mean, for Joe Tsai to go out and say that, this whole, you're in detention or you're on punishment and we're not satisfied, you're not going to play for us until you satisfy us with these list of things. The list is a bit out there, just because if you look at the guidelines, there's nothing in that, and this is coming from Jaylen Brown, right? There's nothing in that says that, which I'm really surprised about, that players have to behave a certain type of way on social media. I mean, obviously a lot of that goes without being said, but because there isn't a whole list of rules that Kyrie technically broke, I don't know if he deserves to be banned from the NBA. If the Nets wanted to cut ties with him, that's a different conversation. That's something that the organization, it's in its rights to want to do that. And if fans disagree with that, then so be it. But I don't think it would be completely wrong, or that it would be, the NBA, something that the NBA would have to step in and say, look, Brooklyn, you can't just let him go because of that. But I do think Kyrie, what he did doesn't mean that he should be banned from the NBA, no.
Here's a sample of what Brown had to say after the game, and his full interview is available on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, his response was alarming to me. I tweeted it out yesterday. He didn't say that the organization was working together to get Kyrie back on the floor. He said that he had more work to do. And our society has more work to do, including Joe Tsai. And it's 2022. It takes 10 minutes of time to see who, these business owners, corporations, et cetera, who they're associated with, who they're doing business with, and who they're affiliated with. And I'm vice president of the union, and it's part of my job to protect our players legally. And to see Phil Knight first come out and condemn, Kyrie, and also see Joe Tsai say he has more work to do, I think it's time for a larger conversation. And Adam came out and said a statement that he doesn't believe Kyrie Irving is anti-Semitic. Yet he's still suspended indefinitely. So those are my thoughts.
So there he is in his own words. He just doesn't like the rhetoric coming out of Brooklyn, and I understand that from a players' union perspective. I don't think that what the Nets have done here falls within the bounds of the CBA, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense for them to just hold him out indefinitely, extend this in terms of the conversation around it, because every game that passes that he's not there, this headline's going to continue to dominate the sport. At the same time, I don't think they reacted the right way to begin with, in terms of Sean Marks calling it a fuss and them rolling him out there a couple of times, waiting for him to say the right thing, and not putting some of these guidelines out there to begin with. Now, they did try the donation. They're trying to make him do that again. I think some of the things in terms of meeting with, the ADL and, in terms of taking classes or whatever they want him to do, it looks good, but I think it's more intention for the team to make themselves look good in this situation so they can get back to basketball and they can get back to having him out there. But I don't know how much they actually do want him out there if they're going to leave him out indefinitely, as you were just saying a minute ago. They're caught in between, it feels like, maybe a group that says, all right, we got to get Irving back and just move past this because it's the only way to retain Durant. It's the only way to contend for a championship. And a group that's probably saying, all right, let's make Irving feel the heat here at the very least, and if we got to cut ties with him, if he doesn't show the contrition here, we're going to move on. And I can just kind of feel the tension between those two sides that are pretty evidently going at it here within the Nets organization.
Yeah, it's like, how long are you guys going to carry this thing out? I mean, from the beginning, I was thinking they were going to maybe accept 4 of the 6 things, or they could find some sort of compromise. I'm not saying that the organization needs to meet Kyrie halfway, but you can understand why Kyrie, they want some sort of example out of Kyrie that they're comfortable with, right? Whether it's completely saying that he's, the comments that he said were inappropriate, which he sort of did to a certain extent. So that's the part where I'm sort of confused here. Like, where do you want him to, like, whether it's the classes, like, I feel like they have to pinpoint 3 or 4 of the things and then just go from there, or at least one by one, and see if they can meet.
I think that's what Brown didn't like, the vagueness of he has work to do.
It's really exactly like for him to go out and say that. Like, I understand why Jaylen's upset or why he would react the way he did. I mean, it's a little irresponsible. There's a lot of feeling in that. Obviously, he sort of went out there and spoke from his emotions, which you sort of have to separate that right now in the regards of finding out what's best, what's the ultimate how are you going to resolve this thing. And I just think he's playing with fire right now, putting comments out like that, putting out a quote like that. It just doesn't help. It doesn't diffuse the situation. It just, if anything, it prolongs it. So I can see why Jaylen feels like that.
Yeah, and this isn't sympathy for Kyrie. I think at the end of the day, he did this to himself. His unwillingness to unequivocally condemn the film, as well as walk back his own comments on the situation, put him in this position. But at the same time,
so far gone at this point, though. What I mean? It's like the whole accountability thing is like, what can he do that's going to really convince everyone? I mean, I don't know.
It's got to be proportional. And at this point, like, I think what he's done probably doesn't meet what you're looking for. But I don't know if you're going to get him to, for lack of a better phrase, just like get down and bow down and say, I'm sorry, and I'm throwing myself on the sword. Like, he's just not going to do that. Yeah. So at what point do you cut ties? At what point do you bring him back and move forward and say, we tried? Because he's going to have to go back to the podium again. That's the thing. And, like, he's not going to love facing questions, but Instagram statement's one thing. Facing the questions and the criticism that's going to come his way once he does return to the podium is going to be another thing. And we know that he doesn't like it.
Yeah, he doesn't. And if you're Brooklyn, you're wondering, what direction will he go in? If you
it's another distraction right when they're getting back to basketball.
So again, if Brooklyn wants to cut ties, then cut ties. If they don't, then resolve this thing quickly, because the more you carry this thing out, the worse it's going to be for all parties involved. And the season, it's a distraction. It's a distraction from the team. It's a distraction for what you're trying to do, and it's a distraction for someone like Kyrie, who is sort of, I don't know. It's like, I'm not trying to like make excuses for Kyrie, but you have to feel for him in the sense that like it's like either he needs to do something or Brooklyn needs to make a decision. One or the other has to happen. And as time goes on, it's only going to get worse from this point forward,
Sure, and we're brought to you by com.com/Garden gets you 40% off a premium subscription when you head over there and check out their app. Ton of stuff to offer. Go check it out. Bedtime stories, meditations, and more, as well as athleticgreens.com/garden. 5 free travel packs. They're great. Nutritional powder and a year's supply of vitamin D when you head over to athleticgreens.com/garden. Josue Pavon, I'm Bobby Manning. Celtics heading out on the road. We'll continue to follow this Kyrie Irving situation as it progresses with the Nets out on the West Coast. No indication that he's going to return on this trip. We'll see what happens next. That's essentially how Jaylen wrapped it up. You can check out the rest of his comments on CLNS Media's YouTube page and more of our Celtics coverage on Celtics All Access.